Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 for Season 3 of Trans Am. We're here today for the first round, of course, where all seasons tend to begin at round 1 at Blue Moon Bay Speedway, the infield layout, or one of the infield layouts, the more simple of the two. But anyway, we will take a look at the track itself. This was a video clip from a practice lobby. Turn 1. We sort of turned down off the traditional banked corner onto a flat one that lies just to the inside of it, and back onto the banking for a brief moment before we go through this very high-speed kink back into the infield. And then there's a slight right-hand kink here, not quite as tricky, and then late on the brakes here into the second braking zone of the circuit. Can take a lot of that inside curve, which I really was not making a very good habit of. I didn't really realize the potential in doing that until quite late, and I also just didn't generally do much practice for this. But anyway, we come towards the line, and that is one full lap, just over 50 seconds. That was the best lap I managed to do, pre-event. So if I can get anything under a 51-second lap time in qualifying right now, I'll be quite happy. Later in the season, we'll be heading to Grand Valley for round 2, Tokyo Expressway for round 3, Monza for round 4, and Le Mans for round 5. So I really can't wait for those last couple of rounds. They're going to be really cool. But anyway, let's focus on the race at hand. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. A lot of understeer coming out of the pit lane. Because there is one banked corner, it can make the flat corners seem a little bit understeery, and it was a bit of a tricky circuit to set up for, as the big jet flies overhead. We just about to drive under the shadow of it there as we begin our first or second flyer in qualifying. Rather, the first one not particularly great, so we're not going to be bothered too much by that, and we'll have time for quite a few laps here. And what I really just want to make sure I do is not crash, because that would just take away those laps and those opportunities. So I'm hoping that we can just have a clean session and hopefully get a decent time in. I'm not expecting much in the way of a decent qualifying result, given that I haven't done too much practice, and I'm just not the fastest driver here. That is an understatement. But anyway, let's not worry about that, and we kick things off with an okay lap time, but I really do want to try and get that sub 51 second time and get a 50 point something. So we'll see what we can do on what will be now probably our second last lap, unless things go horribly wrong. We will have time for one more, so we'll see what we can do, as we actually have a bit of contact with the barrier there. No damage though, so we're lucky to get away with that green sector. So we are improving as we head into the braking zone. Get this turn nice and early, using a bit of that inside curb. Drifted out to the wall there, trying to get the power down. Then this last corner is a mystery, and I don't know whether to go high or low or what to do there, but we managed to get through it. And now just the run to the line. We'll see if we can get into the 50s. Not quite. 51.2. Close, but not quite there. And that was the best I managed to do in the final lap, was no improvement. So there we go. P8, only ahead of Jokin, who didn't qualify. Also worth mentioning, Uncle Pete, a new driver competing this season, qualified P7. So not bad going there, and a very good drifter as well. Uncle Pete was doing some fantastic drifting pre-event. But anyway, for now, let's focus on the upcoming race. It was Artsy who scored pole position at the end of that session, and not by a small margin either. More than half a second clear, when the rest of the field are all very close together. Look at that, 1,000th of a second between Bernardotto and Jester. So they were really close together. Notably missing, by the way, is Ash, last season's champion, not here for this round. But anyway, let's check out the grid sequence, and we'll see what tyres everyone is starting on, both softs and mediums required for this one. Artsy starts from a pole position, and the first few cars on the grid all of course on soft compound tyres. John Tita, the former champion, starts from P2. P3 for Bananotto. It'll be interesting to see how that interesting livery car goes. P4 for Jester in the engine swap Charger, the Demon engine in that car. Then it's Ferbs P5, the first of the medium tyre runners, and Ferbs setting a qualifying time. Very rare occasion. P6 for Cousin Ren. P7 for the new driver in the series, Uncle Pete, also starting on the mediums. P8 for myself. I'm going to take a moment to take a look at the livery on my car, because I forgot to show that off at the start. But yeah, this is a very heavily inspired by Paul Morris, and the 2005 car with the flames on the side, with my own little added details as well. And then last on the grid, the Chevy Nova, driven by Jochen. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. A brand new car to the Trans Am series. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Heavier cars this season, they have a lot of horsepower. We're talking 1,500 kilograms, up to 750 horsepower. And we are off and racing for the first round of the championship here at Blue Moon Bay Speedway. And it is an alright start for us as we head towards the first corner. Got a bit of momentum over Uncle Pete as we head into turn 1. We're a little bit wide, and wider there again. Jochen's on the inside, gets through, and I'm not too fussed about that. I know Jochen's going to be very quick, he always is. So yeah, we will settle into our own rhythm, and we'll see how the race pans out. But we're on board with Bananotto here, putting a lot of pressure on Tita in the early stages as Artsy tries to pull a gap, but these top three all are very close, and just almost getting the nose down the inside through the final corner, but not getting it done there. And that's a lap completed already as we watch on with Uncle Pete and Jochen. Pete goes a little bit wide, Jochen looking to the inside perhaps to make a move here. And there's going to be anything to do there? No, they'll stay line astern for the time being, as now towards the final couple of corners. That's a position made for Bananotto there, getting ahead of John Tita. Important progress at the early stages of this one. Ferbs a bit wide there, and that might give the opportunity to Cousin Ren to get through on the inside, and does so. Cousin Ren takes the position, I think, there, and Ferbs will have to drop in behind. And yeah, those two have swapped places, or maybe not. Ferbs back down the inside. Not over yet between these two into the first corner, side by side. Ferbs has got the inside line, bit of contact as they race their way through, and Ferbs might just be able to get this one back as Cousin Ren still trying to hold it around the outside, and Cousin Ren holds on. Great battling between those two. Meanwhile, back on board with myself under the shadow of the big airplane flying overhead, and that is going to be a common occurrence throughout this race. It's a very busy airport here at Blue Moon Bay. But anyway, as we get out the other end of the first corner, Pete's gone a bit wide there. Jochen's gone down the inside and made that position. We've got a huge run here through the kink, and that's given us the position ahead of Uncle Pete. And we might even be able to have a look at Jochen here. We're not going to be that crazy though, and we'll just stay behind for the time being. But the pace seems alright at the moment between myself and Jochen. So maybe we'll be able to keep up with Jochen in this race if we don't make any mistakes, and that is a big if. So we'll see how it goes, but at the moment we've been keeping up pretty well. But here's a replay of how that happened. Pete just got a little bit high and wide through the first corner out to the barrier there, and that was all the invitation Jochen needed to get down the inside. Left Pete a little bit compromised into the kink, and that gave us the opportunity to get through as well. So good scrap between the three of us there, and of course Pete's on the medium compound tyres, so we're not really on the same strategy at the moment. We'll see how it all pans out later on in the race. But anyway, into the first corner again, and we're keeping up with Joken, and that has me pretty excited at this stage of the race. You know, looking at everyone else who was racing, I thought this was going to be a bit of a lonely one for me. So the fact that I've been able to keep up with Joken throughout the early phases of this one was very, very encouraging. And as we go diving into the very awkward left-hander there, back onto the banking in the final corner, the only real banked corner of the circuit of the infield layout. We will try and close the margin to Joken and get a bit of slipstream along the main straight, and that is a pretty nice lap time, miles faster than anything we did in qualifying. And we finally get our sub at 51-second lap time, and that is Cousin Ren off the road, just back there to the outside of turn 1. Yellow flag was out, and something has gone terribly wrong after what was a very good start to the race for Cousin Ren. We'll look on the replay, big spin, and straight into the barrier, reversing, and big damage to the back of that car, I'm sure. And oh, that was, I think, Uncle Pete going through there. But here's the onboard, and happened before the big sort of bounce as you come off the banking onto the flat infield section. And I think what Cousin Ren said happened is he got the car double downshifted from third to first, and just lost control in that at that exact moment. So yeah, unfortunate as we make a bit of a mistake, gone a bit too deep into the left-hander there, and that might just might just mean we will lose touch to Joken, unfortunately, as we have a bit of a drift through the final corner. Nothing new there. We've been doing that well, for the last few days in practice for this one. But anyway, yeah, we are just starting to struggle, and without Joken to follow, I'm starting to make more and more mistakes, and you know, this becomes a recurring theme every lap. I just can't get that corner right. We actually make contact with the barrier that time, so it's not getting any better. And Pete gets through, moves up into 8th position. We drop down, and maybe we'll be able to follow Uncle Pete for a while and get back into a rhythm. But yeah, I just really lost the plot there for a few laps. So hopefully we can get things back in order. It's a bit late on the brakes here though, down the inside and contact, and we managed to get away with it and both keep pointing in the right direction. No damage for either of us, but that was an awkward moment there. I just, I don't know what happened. I didn't realize I broke that late, but clearly it was a lot later on the brakes than Uncle Pete. And yeah, I was just, I had to go to the inside. There was nowhere else to go. And yeah, Uncle Pete had no chance to see us coming there. The closing speed was just massive. And then, yeah, tried to beat the Horners a last minute warning, but it was a bit too little too late. But anyway, no harm done, we'll carry on, and we'll continue to make an absolute mess of that final corner. I don't know, I've forgotten how to do it. It's weird, but as soon as I lost sight of Joken, yeah, there was just no getting that corner right, so it was strange. But anyway, Cousin Ren is the first to come into the pits. He was about to make the move on myself, but peeled into the pits before that would ever happen. So we move on then to lap number 15, and I'm thinking about coming into the pits on this lap. The right rear tyre is completely dead. The right front is hardly any better, so yeah, we do need to get rid of these. Haven't crashed yet, which is very nice. Never mind. There it goes. And there is the damage. So, yeah, I mean, I have hit the wall before, but had not actually damaged the car until that moment. As all of a sudden Artsy's on us. And we'll just keep it high and wide here. And, yeah, let Artsy through. Because we're not really racing, well, certainly not racing Artsy. I don't think we're really racing anyone. In this one, after that whole series of mistakes, that's sort of just dropped us well and truly out of any reasonable contention, which is very disappointing after you know, quite encouraging signs at the start. But anyway, we come into the pits, and that is Artsy also into the pits, getting a set of the medium compound tyres on. and we will do the same. We'll run these for around about 10 laps, or until we crash again. We'll see. And then Banana also into the pits. So yeah, that is the three of us all serviced. No fuel going on to the Banana car, so yeah, no, that's going to be a very short stint for Bananotto. But anyway, back to myself in pit lane. We'll get the car fixed up from that little bit of damage. Doesn't take too long, and yeah, we come out of pit lane and we'll get racing once again. So yeah, we've got a blue flag straight out of pit lane. Unfortunately, me at the time, I didn't notice that there, and am now completely oblivious that Jester is about to make the move down the inside. He beeps the horn, and all of a sudden I realised that there's a car on the inside. So I tried to leave as much space as possible and found the barriers there, and immediately damaged the car after just getting it fixed. So that's absolutely fantastic. Just what you want when you come out of pit lane is to put it straight into the wall. So yeah, that was a bit of a frustrating moment. Yeah, just didn't realise Jester was coming, and overreacted a little bit. So anyway, that's what happened, and yeah, we now just have to deal with the damage. We can't pit now. We need to do some form of stint on these tyres. But yeah, a bit of an annoying incident there. But anyway, Jester comes into the pits almost straight after that, and now down the inside goes Cousin Ren, not on the same lap though as Jester. We'll get a new set of tyres on. The mediums go on for Jester, and no fuel, so a short stint on the mediums coming up for Jester, as into the pits comes Joken as well. And Joken will start on the softs. We'll put the mediums on for the next stint, and we'll put some fuel on. So there we have it. Out further up the field, we see Uncle Pete coming into the lane. Started on the mediums, comes in after a pretty lengthy stint, and splitting the race roughly 50-50 on mediums, now going on to the softs. So Uncle Pete will have some pretty decent pace for the rest of this one. The Banana Man comes into the pits, and after that short stint on the mediums, we'll head back onto the soft compound, and now we'll do the refuel as we look further afield, or further up the field. We've got Artsy up here into the wall, and that is going to give Tita the opportunity to get through, as Artsy is almost a lap down to the race leader. So the pole sitter not having a great run, it seems, although one lap is not very long around this circuit, and that's just the difference even a pit stop can make. So we'll see what happens here. But Artsy now, I think with damage from that incident with the barrier, and John Tita definitely with the pace, trying to find the way through. He's been following Artsy for quite a while, and now is finally able to make the move down the inside, and John Tita will put Artsy a lap down, and wide into the wall, and Artsy gets back through, and John Tita throws it away and damages his own car there. So now there are 3 cars around the circuit with damage, all quite spread out, 1st, 4th and 9th on track, all with damage. Here's the replay. Artsy got a big swapper re-entering the banked section of the circuit, and Tito was able to just get down the inside, but overcooked it into the kink on the tight line, and Artsy was able to get straight back through. And here's the onboard with Artsy, and this one probably best demonstrates the impact for Tita, and just how much momentum he lost there. Tita's lag does make it a little bit tricky to see it properly, but yeah, it was not a small hit with the barrier for John Tita. Meanwhile, we look at to Ferbs coming into the pit lane. He of course started on the medium compound tyres. We'll go on to the softs for the rest of the race. A very long stint on the mediums for Ferbs there, as we go on board now with Tita into the pit lane, and hit the pit entry wall there. I think that was just lag, but interesting nonetheless. So anyway, John Teeter, new set of tyres go on, and mediums going on for John Teeter. Into the pits comes the snarling charger of Jester, and we'll put 4 tyres in fuel. The softs going on for Jester as into the pits. Also comes Artsy, and another set of tyres going on, softs for Artsy, as we look to Cousin Ren. It's a busy time in the pits as everyone is putting their race finishing tyres on. Ren actually saved the medium tyres for the end as we go back on board with myself. Big slide there, and these tyres are done. It's time to come into the pits for our final set of softs. We've lived with the damage for long enough, and oh my goodness, that is a very solid pit wall that we've just crashed into. We managed to get into pit lane, which is somewhat of a miracle given that we were almost backwards there. But my goodness, that hurt. I felt that. Of course I felt it, I'm driving. But oh my goodness, here's the replay. Big slide there. Had nothing to do with what was about to happen though, as we come in to the pits. And oh, thank you. That's a very, very useful camera angle to have there at that moment in time. Let's try this again from a different replay camera. We come into the pits, and oh, you serious? Alrighty, let's try this one more time. Alrighty, we'll go on board, and huge drift there. You can see the wheel work to save that one, and then into the pits. Watch the proximity with the wall on the right. We actually did not hit it, and then good presence of mind, if I say so myself, to actually turn the steering wheel right as we were rolling backwards there. As to not enter the pit lane backwards. But here it is on the super slow-mo to finally get a definitive angle on this. Nowhere near the wall, relatively. And yeah, we somehow had that happen. But yeah, I turned the steering wheel right because we were rolling backwards. And if you roll backwards into pit lane, it'll reset the car on the track, and you've got to drive another full lap. And given the severity of that impact, the damage is quite massive. It's going to take 6 whole seconds to fix it. So, yeah, yeah, that was a very weird moment. I couldn't quite believe it when it happened. I mean, I knew I was cutting it fine with the pit entry wall, but I didn't think I actually hit it. And the replay proves me right. I did not hit the pit entry wall. It's just a very weird collision physics there. But anyway, if you're ever entering pit lane at Blue Moon Bay Speedway, watch out for that as we let Jester through and go another lap down. So yeah, that happened. That was probably the biggest highlight of the race, certainly the biggest crash, although Cousin Ren certainly tried in the early stages going backwards into the first corner. But anyway, we have a bit of action going on here though, as we see Uncle Pete making the move on Jokin late in this one. And now we look further up the road. We'll get a bit of a run through the order, see where everyone is. John Teeter leads the way, is going to finish the race on the medium compound tyres. Running in second position, it's the one and only Banana Man, with Artsy right behind the pole sitter trying to make up ground in this one. And yeah, he was actually making the move here, and might get up into second position as Bananoso goes wide. Artsy gets through, and I think that was a little bit of teamwork between those two to get that done. And Artsy will go charging after John Teeter now. So good to see as yeah, Banana Man drops into third position, and we'll look to P4 Jester. That car sounds absolutely hellish. But anyway, the Dodge Charger on song here, and then Ferb's running in fifth position, being a fairly quiet race, hasn't been caught up in too much action. Had the good battle with Ren earlier on, and it's Uncle Pete next, followed by this battle between Jokin and Cousin Ren down the inside, and a big move there to try and get down the inside. Ren came from a long way back and didn't quite get the move done, but Cousin Ren is desperate to try and get this overtake done on Jokin and move up one more position in this race and get somewhat of a recovery from the incident earlier on. So we'll see what happens. But in the straight line, Cousin Ren with the speed, it gets the move done on the main straight. Nicely done there. And we'll move up into P7, Joken down into P8, and myself running down in P9 last of the running cars. So that's where everyone is on track at the moment as we go on board, and we'll just see a replay of this. How late on the brakes was Cousin Ren? Shades of what happened early in the race between myself and Pete, just so much later on the brakes than the car in front. Joken did a good job to see Ren coming and leave the inside wide open. And then Ren just with the traction on the inside. Ren's on the medium tyres, mind you, so great traction and generating good speed with those tyres to get past Joken and move up into P7 with a nice move there. We now go on board with Artsy, and a bit of traffic coming up for the fastest car on track at the moment. I think it's fair to say certainly the most motivated as we see up the road. The battle we were just watching actually, into the barriers there, and no damage thankfully from that one, but certainly pushing the limits is Artsy, and now might be able to get past Joken, and gets a little bit sideways there, and yeah, Artsy's really pushing the limits here. But makes the move on Joken, and will very soon be able to make the move on Cousin Ren as well, as we run down towards the first corner, getting a good bit of slipstream along the straight, and then into turn 1. Should be able to get this move done. Ren leaves it high and wide, and Artsy gets through and makes the move work, as now Bananotto has passed Joken, so we've got two separate battles trying to navigate their way past each other, and that was fairly close there, as Cousin Ren and Bananotto just got past, banging mirrors there, but no harm done, and both duos can continue their separate battles in this race. That was a well-managed little situation there, as they had to try and navigate the blue flags. But anyway, we continue on. Ferbs goes on through, and we're now a lap down, or another lap down, to Ferbs in this race. But this is good for me actually, because like I said early on when we had Joken in front, I really do enjoy having a car in front to actually follow. So I know Ferbs isn't going to hang around, but if we can just keep up for one lap, it'll be good to see if we can get another good lap time in. I might be able to improve on my personal best lap at this stage of the race. We'll see how it goes, as we might be getting a little bit of a slipstream along the straight, and then on the brakes into turn 1, and we'll see if we can carry some decent speed through here. It's the exit of turn 1 that can be very tricky, because once you start to struggle putting the power down, it's really hard to recover from that and actually and get a good exit. I never fully worked out how to navigate the exit of turn 1, or the entry really. This corner I did work it out, I just wasn't very good at getting it right. But a nice enough run through there on this lap, and as you can see, Ferbs are getting away. But this has been a much better lap than anything I've done at all in the recent past. And as we come towards the line, what is the lap time going to be? It is going to be a 50.7, just on a tenth away from our previous best lap, which was a 50.69, I believe. So yeah, that is a decent lap, and some amount of pace in the late stages of this race, even if it's not consistent. So that made me pretty happy. There's a big slide that we did on the final corner of that lap, and we bring it up to the line. But anyway, that is seems to be most of the action done in this race. We're struggling to control the car now through that very same corner, and I actually bumped the horn a couple of times while I was trying to save it there, as this thing is becoming a little bit of a handful in the late stages. On board with Cousin Ren, having a bit of a moment into the first corner there, but we'll carry on. And yeah, continues to push on. No threat from behind. He's managed to get away from Joker. It's actually Ferb's behind, but they're not on the same lap. Ferb's a bit further up the road in terms of track position, and Cousin Ren won't make an argument out of that one. Ferb's goes on through, and we'll return to the race leader, John Teeter, who is going to bring it around the final corner to win the opening round of the Trans Am Championship Season 3. John Teeter picks up where he left off. Artsy will take P2. He was charging at the end but couldn't quite close the margin. It will be Uncle Pete P6 as sideways across the line goes Bananotto for third position, and we'll bring that one home. Jester will take P4. Nice finish for Jester. Then it's Ferbs in the 5th position ahead of Cousin Ren in P7, Joke in P8, and then myself coming around the final corner to take 9th position and last on track. But yeah, I was a bit further back than I would have liked to have been, 2.5 laps behind, but there were some positives, and one of those was that my fastest lap was actually faster than Joken's, which you know, if I had that consistency, you know, that would have been quite an interesting race, I think. But I just couldn't get those lap times consistent. Here's something new I'm doing. This is the fastest lap of the race on board with Artsy, who managed to take that one. Yeah, we'll see how Artsy managed to put this lap together. Obviously, as you would expect from the fastest lap of the race, quite neat and tidy. A little bit of a wobble out of the first corner, but nothing too crazy. And then big use of that inside curb there, more than I ever did for the entire race. So, you know, that's where I was losing a little bit of time, I suppose. But whenever I did try and take more curb there, it just unsettled the car, and I didn't really like it. So anyway, Artsy sets the fastest lap of the race. It's a 48.8 in race trim. That ain't too bad at all. So yeah, that is just about going to do it for this one. Artsy, I think, scoring a pole position for the first time and scoring a fastest lap for the first time. But what hasn't changed is John Teeter still coming away with a victory in the end. I'd like to know what the G-forces registered at in that pit wall crash. I went from 233 kilometers an hour to 6 in one frame, which is I think a 30th of a second. So if anyone knows how to calculate G-forces, I would love to know. But anyway, let's have a little look at the championship standings. Of course, it is just going to be the same as the race results after the first round, but John Teeter leads the way, 33 points. Artsy in second, just 1 point behind, courtesy of taking the fastest lap and pole position. Bananotto sits third on 28 points, ahead of Jester 26, Ferbs 24, Uncle Pete 22 points, ahead of Cousin Ren 20 points, Joken on 18, myself on 16. So yeah, that is I think going to do it for this one. So I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.